Facts Hunter.
Hello everyone, this is a Facts Hunter with a quick update on Gonzalo Lira. Gonzalo Lira uploaded 3 videos to one of his channels on July 31st and a long thread to X, the app formerly known as Twitter, and according to him, Gonzalo has been out of prison since July 6th. He didn't upload anything to social media because, according to him, he needed time to reassess his situation and put his mind at ease. He's uploading 3 videos telling what has happened to him and what are his plans. He claims he's been tortured and extorted while in prison by gangsters. He claims he was beaten, got his arm twisted, a broken rib, and some prisoners scratched the white of his left eye with a toothpick. According to him, the prisoners were under instructions by the SBU because, according to him, the real bad guys are the Ukrainian SBU and not the criminals they put in jail. With regards to the crimes he has broken, he still doesn't learn his lesson, proving that he is in fact an idiot.
My case is all about free speech, and I spent 2 months and change in a maximum security prison. And by the way, when I say, okay, well, let me finish that point. I spent 2 months and change in a maximum security prison over things that I said, opinions I gave regarding publicly available information that is undisputed. This is the epitome of free speech, and yet I went to prison for it, and I will likely go 5 to 8 years to a prison labor camp where, by the way, everybody in the CISO prison, the investigative prison where I was at, none of them wanted to go to that labor camp because they all said it's a death sentence, okay? And so I'm going to be sent for 5 to 8 years because of YouTube videos that I made.
Yes, sir. Gonzalo Lira is in fact an idiot. The fact is, Ukraine passed a law against collaboratism, and somehow he still thinks freedom of expression trumps any law enforced by Ukraine. He claims that he is innocent because he didn't commit crimes that actively harmed people or destroyed private property. He claims that he deserves to be free because all he did was upload some videos and that's all. I mean, what an idiot. This is the thing that really gets to me. Gonzalo doesn't realize that he is not being singled out. He is part of a large operation that Ukraine is performing to fight against Russian propaganda. I mean, he is not the only person who is being arrested, and this just doesn't click on his head. Any of his followers can't seem to understand that this is not about Gonzalo. This is about fighting Russian propaganda. Now, this is an example of what has been happening since that law passed in Ukraine. My message is simple. No one can escape consequences for collaboration. So as you can see, this is not about Gonzalo Lira. Gonzalo Lira broke a serious law, and he still doesn't get it. He still doesn't get the message. Now, according to him, his plans is to escape to Hungary, a landlocked country filled with corruption, and request political asylum.
My case originally started as a free speech issue. But because of the SBU and the inherent corruption of the SBU and the criminal justice system in Ukraine, I will definitely be sent to a prison labor camp where I will most certainly die. And so I decided that the smart thing was take my chances in terms of getting across the border. Right now, I'm maybe 5 kilometers away from the border with Hungary. Over the last 2 days, I rode my bike just about 1,300 kilometers from Kharkov all the way here to the border. And my intention is to cross the border, get to Hungary, and in Hungary, I'm going to ask for political asylum. Now, why Hungary? And why ask for political asylum? Very simple. You see, when I don't show up at my court date on Wednesday, the day after tomorrow, there will be an arrest warrant issued for me. Now, of course, this arrest warrant, they will presume that I left the country, so it will become an international arrest warrant. Now, the European Union, which is allied with Ukraine, to its perdition, as many of you know, in terms of the European economy as well, the Europeans will comply with this international arrest warrant, and they will scoop me up at the first chance. And it won't matter that it's a free speech case. It won't matter. Nothing will matter except complying. If I were to go to Poland or Slovenia or Romania, all of these little gremlins of the EU, they're going to scoop me up instantly and return me to the graces of the SBU and the criminal justice system, and eventually I'll wind up in a prison labor camp. I'm hoping that Hungary, which has shown some independence insofar as these matters are concerned, of complying with idiotic EU regulations and diktats, I'm hoping that the authorities in Hungary will look at my indictment, realize that it has nothing to do with me being an actual bona fide criminal in terms of harming people or property, and it's really a strictly free speech issue, an issue of democratic speech. And I'm hoping that the Hungarian authorities will show some mercy.
Now, to this, the State Department was asked about Gonzalo Lira, and this is what they had to say.
Yeah. Cause group with the gray zone. So back in May, I asked you about Gonzalo Lira. He was the U.S. citizen arrested in Ukraine for posting dissident content online, and you told me the State Department was aware of his arrest in May. And we learned last night through a series of tweets by him that he had been tortured in the Ukrainian prison, and he was now on a motorcycle with a broken rib trying to flee to the Hungarian border. And so I'm wondering, if this is true, given the State Department knew of his arrest and his detention, how has this been allowed to occur? We have a U.S. citizen being detained and perhaps tortured in the prison of one of our strongest allies.
Well, you lost me with the perhaps and the if this is true. I think I'd want to verify those reports before I commented on them. Alex, go ahead.
Alex, go ahead. Is the State Department investigating?
I just want to verify anything before I comment. Go ahead, Alex.
And that's it. Pretty much. They want to verify before they make comments. Now, before you stop the video angry at me for not feeling sorry for Gonzalo, let me show you what he was saying when people tried to warn him that he could get in trouble if he keeps criticizing Zelensky while at the same time cheering for Putin.
I saw it, yeah. Well, there are people in the chat, they're saying, you need to stop talking about them before you become Coach Pinebox, Bill. So it's just that's
well, fuck off. I mean, those people say that, fuck you. You fucking coward. I'm sorry, I'm going to say this right now, and I don't give a fuck. You fucking cowards, shut the fuck up. Because you don't speak up now, who's going to speak up? Yeah? I despise that cowardice. I despise it. Because you have to stand up and say what's wrong. And this is wrong. And what they are doing is despicable. And they are dragging down the Ukrainian nation, and they are going to inflict countless casualties on the Ukrainian people just so they can hold on to a little bit more power and make some more money. These people are crazy. And so you have to stand up, speak your mind, and point to what these people are. They're mad dogs that have to be put down. And if you say that, oh no, you should be quiet and keep low and keep your head down, fuck off, coward. I have no time and no patience for any cowardice like that.
So this guy hates the West, cheers for Putin, and voluntarily wants to become a martyr in favor for the Russian invasion, and I'm supposed to feel sorry for him because he was tortured in Ukrainian prison? Yeah, nah. Now, quick things to point out. According to Gonzalo himself, he was released fairly quick compared to other prisoners.
Last year I was detained. I was investigated to see if I was a Russian agent. They realized I wasn't. And I was let go. But I was told in no uncertain terms that I could not leave the city or the country while my case was investigated. And so I was told that I couldn't leave the country. I couldn't leave the city even, which I wanted to because I wanted to be near my family. So I was a good boy. Later in prison, in CISO, I told this to some of the other prisoners there because they're not inmates, because none of them have been convicted. Their cases are all being investigated, and some of these investigations take years, plural. Okay, one man I knew had been there for, as he said very proudly, 3 years and 3 months. Another had been there 6 years. Because what they do is that they arrest you and charge you, and they start their investigation, and they'll get around to the investigation when they get around to it. So a lot of times people just sit there forever. And that's basically the justice system in Ukraine. So anyway, the point is that my case was expedited. Prisoners couldn't believe that my case was investigated in a month, exactly a month. By the 31st of May, they had completed their investigation of me being this evil Russian propagandist, and the indictment was drawn up, which, as I said, you can read on Twitter, and the thread that I posted at the same time that I'm posting this video. And realizing some other information that was quite strange, I was granted bail after innumerable hurdles, because when I was originally arrested, I was nominally supposed to get a lawyer, have access to a lawyer, be able to call my loved ones, and arrange for bail. Now, insofar as lawyers, I have lawyers up the wazoo. Insofar as loved ones, not as many as lawyers, but I have quite a few that I care about very deeply, most especially my small children. For those of you who don't know, I have 2 children. Veronica, who is 10, she just turned 10. She turned 10 while I was in prison. And my son, Ramon, who is 8. And of course, I wanted to talk to them, but I was not allowed to speak to them during the entirety of my stay in prison. And of course, I wasn't allowed to post bail, even though I had the means to post bail. Now, let me explain that situation, which is very interesting. You see, nominally, on the first day that I was arrested, I could have posted bail. But I was not given the opportunity to do so, to contact the people who would have the cash available to post my bail. It wasn't that much, it was $11,000, which I don't want to sound arrogant. $11,000 is quite a bit of money for most people. I am blessed by the good fortune of having the means to put together that kind of money at a moment's notice. And so I could have posted bail on the very first day, but the authorities simply didn't allow me to do it, even though they said I could. Now, I was in prison briefly for 2 nights. I was in interrogatory prison number 1, that's the name of it. And then after that, I spent the remaining 9 weeks, exactly 9 weeks, in CISO prison, which is also an investigative prison. That is a prison where individuals who have been accused of a crime are held while their case is investigated by either the police or the SBU who has arrested them. The SBU, for those of you who don't know, is the State Security Services of Ukraine. They are basically the descendants of the KGB, okay? So anyway, I wasn't allowed to post bail, and it was only through fairly heroic measures and a lot of pressure, political pressure from the government of Chile and apparently the State Department as well, because they didn't seem to like the fact that I wasn't being allowed to post bail. I spoke with representatives of the U.S. Embassy 3 times during the 9 weeks I was there. And they just gave me bromides. They made no effort to hold me out, you know. I mean, if only I'd been a black lesbian druggie or a transgender grifter, then maybe they would have done something. Well, no, if I'd been one of those 2 things, I would have been out instantly. But of course, since I'm not, and where was I? I lost my train of thought. When I was in prison, and I told the other prisoners how I'd been detained in April of 22, and told in no uncertain terms not to leave the country. The prisoners laughed, and they said, "You idiot." They were leaving the door open for you to leave. They wanted you to leave, you know, less hassle for them. And me, of course, you know, retrospectively, it's obvious, but at the time, I said, no, I can't do anything. They're telling me to stay, so I must stay, you know, like an idiot. That's simple as that.
So he was still enjoying privileges that other people, especially Ukrainian prisoners, don't have. But still, he is ungrateful, and he thinks that he is being arrested because of some kind of political hijab. Still, he claims that he was about to attempt to cross the Hungarian border, and that if he hasn't posted any updates in the next 12 hours, then he was probably detained again, and this time fast-tracked to a labor camp, where he fears that because of his old man heart condition, will probably die behind bars. I'm posting this thread just as I'm getting to the border checkpoint. I'm also posting videos on the 2 channels I have access to, the Round Table and Gonzalo Lira again. If you don't hear from me in the next 12 hours, well, I'm on my way to a labor camp. Wish me luck. As I already mentioned, his last 3 videos were uploaded on July 31st. After 24 hours had passed, Gonzalo had not posted any more updates. But finally, some unverified claims were made by legitimate sources. The first one comes from Mark Sebora. He posted on Twitter/X the following post: I can affirm that Gonzalo Lira, wanted by the Key Puch regime for the crime of criticizing it, aka as quotes, free speech, and of quotes, tried to escape the West-backed Key Puch regime across the Ukrainian border into Hungary, where he intended to request political asylum. Few hours later, I can further affirm that Gonzalo Lira was stopped on the Ukrainian side of the border from crossing and has since disappeared now for more than 24 hours. That is the last that anyone has heard from him. I'm not sure where Mark Sleboda got this information from, but his credentials give me the comfort to believe his claims are legit. The second source of information is none other than Sergeant Sarah Ashton Cirillo, who posted a video on Twitter/X where even though she doesn't fully give the whereabouts of Gonzalo, she indicates that Gonzalo is under SBU custody.
There's a reason you haven't heard from Gonzalo Lira yet with his so-called attempts at asylum in Hungary. It's because the state security services, better known as the SBU, are some of the most talented and focused law enforcement agents across the globe. And in doing so, they knew where Gonzalo Lira was.
And that's it pretty much. Seems like Gonzalo Lira is on his way to a labor camp. The guy was already retired, had plenty of money, and he threw it all away. Now he's out of retirement and he's back to the labor market. It might be forced labor, but still labor nonetheless. Oh boy. Well, Gonzalo Lira has finally done it. He effed around and found out. This is awesome! What a great way to start the month of August. Gonzalo Lira is off to a labor camp and I'm celebrating. Okay, I'm gonna go get drunk. Thank you everyone for watching. Happy times indeed. Don't forget to click a like and a subscribe for more videos. This is a Fox Hunter. Bye for now and take care.